Okay, now we're officially starting. Wish a few more people would show up, but I will post the video of the review and of the review sheet with answers. Good news and bad news. Good news, next week we get to the more fun and interesting part of this course about the real media history. Now, yeah, this part we've been doing is kind of boring, but it gives us the baseline of how to look at it.
And what's the bad news?
Bad news is we're about to do a test. And doing everything I can to get you through it. But unlike a lot of other professors, I have actually taken education, how to teach a class courses. And one of the things I've learned is how to make a test. And one of the things they taught us in education school is every question should be challenging. If everybody gets a question right, then you're not being tested. If everybody gets a question wrong, then I screwed up. So each question will be a bit of a challenge. And I'm not going to ask you to repeat back a lot of stuff from the reviews. It's about using stuff. And I'll give you some examples as we go along. So tests are challenging. The grades are usually not as good as the essays, but that's more good news. I'll give you an essay next week, and most people do well on that. So it all averages out. Tests are challenging. So just to let you know, but then the course gets more interesting. And since we're starting with ancient media, next week's essay is find something from ancient times, which means before the invention of the printing press, that we still use today. And it has to be something in the media. Obvious thing is the Bible. But the Bible is many books written over a millennia. So again, right, don't do the whole Bible, maybe one book. So that's what we do next week. But it doesn't have to be the Bible, it could be a lot of books. So anyway, and I'll give you some hints on what we ask on the test as I go through the test review. That's all we do today is review for the test, and I will record it. Okay. Ta-da! Test review. Ta-da! You can see it. Name some elements of good history. Elements in good history. Straight out of the boring book. Bibliographical soundness. Good sources. Complete. Different viewpoints. Focused topic. I mean, you have a good overview of a lot of different sites. That's bibliographic soundness. Good sources, meaning professional sources, meaning ones that know what they're talking about. Different viewpoints, don't always say the same thing, and have a good focused topic. Again, we did Nathan Bedford Forrest. That's his career is not a paper, it's a book. So do several, but the statute, that's a good paper.
Are we going to have access to this study guide, Professor?
Yes. With answers.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's another thing. Test will be open study guide, open book, open lecture, all of the stuff. So there is no time limit. You can look at all the stuff. The bad news is people are going to say, but that wasn't on the study guide. Well, it's about using stuff from the study guide, not just repeating it back. That's the difference between high school and college. Good okay, a good focus, a good topic, narrow focus. I'll show you. Like for next week, ancient media, don't do the whole Bible. The story of Job is different from the story of Genesis, different from the epistles. That's what I mean. Narrow focus, different stories. Don't be too broad. Good sources. Again, not too opinionated. Something people are interested in. The WTF. I mean, why bother? Something you can bring light or perspective to. That's why, again, the Nathan Bedford Forrest did all of that. There are good sources. Try to stay away from the opinionated ones. It is interesting and relevant. Interested in or relevant. Something you bring is history on. This one will come up many times. Get over it. History is always biased. You have biased sources. Your word choices are biased. You're doing subjective choices all the time, how you organize it, which sources you choose. And then your perspectives all change. So there's always bias. That will come up several times. Same thing in media coverage, even just the facts has some bias, and we'll talk about that. Actually, just the facts might not be biased, but it doesn't tell you what goes on. How can you control bias? Again, good professional, I won't say unbiased sources. Sources, different. Again, a lot of this is redundant, like we said before. Different views. Look at the other side or someone who's different. Recognize your own biases. I mean, somebody writing about the Bible coming from a Jewish perspective is going to look at it differently than someone from a Baptist theological perspective. Everybody's going to look at these things differently. That's not a bad thing. Just be aware and address them.
So in recognizing our own bias, do you mean like literally mention like,
No,
hey,
no,
I'm biased in this way?
No, you don't say, hey, I'm biased and opinionated. But if you come from a conservative background, look at something maybe the liberals say, or vice versa. That way, you're just listening so you can make a good decision. Because maybe someone who disagrees with you might have a good point. So that's the point there. No, you don't have to say, I mean, because we assume no matter what you do, there's going to be some. You can deal with it. Problem with cause and effect. Most things have many possible causes and effects. For example, Does the media make us violent? The answer is it depends. Some people you show a violent TV show for will hate it. Some will say, yeah. Different people respond different ways. It depends on your upbringing, if you're in a bad mood, are you drunk? All of these sorts of things will affect how you respond to violence. So, and in history, different things cause, okay, Afghanistan. Afghanistan, we just pulled out of. We went into it, many causes, largely 9/11. Is that the sole cause? No. There's lots of things that went on, that they housed bin Laden, that they were a mess. The Taliban was in there. There was lots of stuff already. So is it one thing? No, there are many reasons why we're in Afghanistan. Why did we leave? Again, many reasons. Now, some things are related. Some things you can show, part of the cause, but most historical and psychological things have multiple causes and effects. 3 reasons history is rewritten. New discoveries. You find new things all the time that say, aha, maybe, maybe things weren't the way we thought they were. New technologies. We talked about DNA testing. We talked about the Rosetta Stone. New things make you look at history different ways. And perspectives change. Yeah. Again, when I was a kid, I saw a lot of Confederate iconography on lots of stuff. I remember the Dukes of Hazzard with the Confederate flag on the car, and the car's name was General Lee, and nobody cared. But now you would never see that on a television show. Again, things have changed. Now, this is one of the things I will ask on the test. I won't ask you, define the nationalist school. I might ask, how would a nationalist school look at Afghanistan? I'll tell you. Nationalist School of History looks at the point of view of a given country, assuming country is good. Look at Afghanistan. The nationalist perspective, we went in there and we tried to build a country, a government, a better place for those people. I mean, a lot of people really, that's kind of the point. We wanted to get the bad guys. That's the nationalist view. America did the right thing. Progressive school looks at people often left out, looks at conflict. The progressive school would look at the same phenomenon in Afghan and say, but what about the Afghans? Did they want us to build their nation? This is a Muslim country, and we're a Christian country largely, even though we're a secular country, but we're mostly Christian people. What about them? What business is it of ours to invade their country? Did they ask? No, they didn't. Progressive school takes that point of view. So you have both sides. I mean, right now, and I can talk about this in a class because this is college, but in high schools and grammar schools are talking a real lot about critical race theory, which says basically this country is structured to keep people of color at a disadvantage. Now, patriotic school says, but this is a country of ideas and we're a good country. Progressive school would look at it, would be more critical race theory. Aha, but we have structures here that keep certain people at a disadvantage. I'm not going to advocate for either. I'm just saying you can look at history any number of ways. Developmental school. Looks at technology, not sociology or politics. This will be asked on the test. The next book we have is, I forgot the author's name. It is a developmental book. It looks at the printing press. It looks at the telegraph and the difference those inventions made. So the next book is developmental school. And that's how I'm going to couch this. If you're looking at, you know, a certain book, which school is that? That's how I will ask that question. And in this case, and I think I do ask this question, the answer is developmental school. Consensus school . Again, and I try to at least present that. Consensus is, this is a country based on ideas. And even we don't always live up to those ideas. So I'm looking at both. You know, there are different ways of looking at lots of things. Consensus school says, this is what we can agree on. Race and gender schools looks at the experience of people of a given race or gender. Yeah. What was it like for women who are not even mentioned in the Bill of Rights? Women have no rights into into even officially, not until the 13th Amendment, when all people were created equal, where we have equal protection under the law.
Wasn't that the 14th Amendment?
Yeah, 14th Amendment, you're right, thank you. But equal protection. That wasn't, but yeah, there wasn't any people of color were counted as 3/5 of a person until the 13th Amendment, which made them legal and abolished slavery. So yeah, look at their experiences, which are different than those of white male property holders. Is that valid? Sure. But there's not one way of looking at this stuff. Okay. Romantic school. Most biographies. Look at, the story of Ben Franklin, which we'll talk about in the next couple of weeks, where he came from. Julius Caesar, we'll talk about next week. We remember Caesar because he was a media guy. He had a daily newspaper, Acta Diurna. Today, I beat the Helvetians, which is the Swiss. He beat the Swiss, big woo. But he made a big deal about it and everybody heard of Caesar. So again, that's the Romantic school, the romantic story, not necessarily, well, actually he had, Cleopatra and he had a thing, so I guess you can call it that too, but it's not about relationships. It's about lovely ideas. So, those I will ask, okay, you read a biography, which school is that? Brum, brum, brum. It's the Romantic school. Okay, copyright, which we went into last time. Anything, songs, pictures, films, books, anything original is automatically copyrighted. Now, most people don't know that, and there's no copyright police. So 99 times out of 100, you can borrow stuff and no one's going to care. But if you use it in a film or a movie, you will be caught. So no, you shouldn't copy anything original without permission. Now, public domain, facts, ideas, opinions, works put in public by the creator of the work, government documents. We need to know what our government's doing. Ideas, facts. Now, when you put those facts in order and make a story, then it's copyrighted. I write a story for a magazine, automatically copyrighted. Now, the facts I base that on, coverage of, I used to be a magazine writer on photography ethics issues. You write about coverage of disasters. Should you ask permission when you put the camera in someone's face? There are some issues involved. You can take the same facts of the law and say, professionally speaking, if you put a camera in someone's face, they're going to pose and it doesn't tell a story. So maybe you shouldn't ask permission, but then you're going to embarrass them. You could argue it both ways. The facts are the same. You could place that argument in different ways. And what you do with the facts is copyrighted. Same thing, ideas, opinions, works put in public by the creator of the work. George Romero put Night of the Living Dead in public domain. So we see lots of zombie movies. A lot of people say, go ahead. This is why when I make a video, I will Google free music and see what's able to be, I can use without getting in trouble. Government documents, we need to know what our government does and where our money's going. Things like what's going on, our COVID policy, how much we get paid, that's government. You need to know what goes on with your taxes and with your tuition. Major exception to copyright. I could present a movie in class. You could send me a link or a clip, and it's no problem. I'm not going to sell anything. You're not going to sell it. We can share copyrighted material for educational purposes. Okay, historical narratives. Strengths is perspectives. Weaknesses. That's the problem. but someone's going to make a narrative no matter what you do. You lose $20. And you recently broke up with a boyfriend, girlfriend, and you can't find that $20. And then you know your friend is broke. So put those facts together. Aha, he or she, my ex, stole my $20. You put the facts together, you can make that narrative. But that doesn't mean the person did steal that money. You know, there you go. That's an example, but people put facts together. Yes, you can hear there's a cat there. But yeah, so we make stories. So it is best to control the story. If you're writing a history, or even you know, telling your friends a story. If you just give them just the facts, they're going to put it together. So it's best for you to create a narrative. Characteristics of a narrative writing. You have characters, plots, action, conflict. You know, it's easy to make somebody a good guy or a bad guy. And in reality, most people aren't. We all have mixed emotions, and it depends on how you look at it. You know, everyone's going to have a different view of the plot depending on what happens. Conflict. Conflict makes things interesting. We tend to exaggerate conflict. This is why talk radio is so popular, because they're so mad at those liberals or conservatives. That conflict makes it interesting and attracts people. If they were more even-handed, it would be more boring. So narrative writing is more interesting, but you have to be careful. Peer-reviewed journals. Good sources. You know, professional. You have somebody saying, hey, this is right, this is wrong. You know, this is one of the problems with, frankly, vaccinations. You read the articles, you read the science, 90% of the people will say one thing, but you're always going to find 2 or 3 who are going to say, I disagree with that. And that causes some trouble. But the advantages are you give those people the opportunities, so you get your best answer. Disadvantages. Takes time, and it's boring. You know, got to go to the library. Maybe you got to pay some money. You know, it takes a little bit more, and it's not as interesting as some of the other stuff. I saw this posted on Facebook just before class. You know, someone says, hey, 3 years of graduate school, 3 years of PhD school, 3 years of postdoc, 4 years of research, 2 more years of peer review, and I have my results. ... Guy on the internet says it's crap. There you go. That's what happens. You take a long time to be an expert and then just some person says, oh, I don't like this. Oh, well, and too often that other person has just as much credence with the audience as a good professional scientist researcher. Why should you bother doing research? It is good for, if you go to grad school, law school, that's all you do. Law school, med school, research, get over it. In any profession, helps you sort out good information from bad. Really look at all sides, find good background information. Employers love that. They want, the biggest thing I hear from employers, give us folks that have critical thinking skills. There you go. And it looks good on a resume. So, I mean, it's a useful stuff no matter what you do. I will now save that as to the desktop. I'll rename it, save as. Study guide with answers on the desktop. Go to class. Add this on there. Show you that I'm actually doing it. Study guide with answers. Study guide with answers. There it is for all of you to see. So we have that. Again, test review. I will post the video shortly. Any other questions on any of this stuff? All right, you have until Monday. The test goes live at 2, so it's live now. And it goes until Monday the 6th. So you have 5 whole days. So, and if you have technical problems, email me. I'll do the best I can. You're sick or something, we can give you an extension. We're here to work with you on it. This is challenging, but I grade the essay as easier. All right. Anything else? Okay.
Hey, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Do you have to finish the test in like one setting?
Yeah, in one sitting, yes, but it could be forever.
Okay.
No time frame. But once you sit down to do it,
Finish it then.
that's it.
All right, thanks.
I can reset it if you have a problem. I can erase
All right.
the test and start over. All right.
All right,
Anything else? All right. I'll record this and post it. Good luck on this. We will see you next Tuesday. Have a good weekend. Have a good holiday.